Hey everyone, welcome back to Life is Love School. My name is Yumei Chang and I'm the founder. Today's topic is how do you date with more confidence if you're anxiously attached? If you're anxiously attached, then dating can feel like a minefield because you're constantly wishing that the other person wants more closeness. You're always wondering, do they still like me? Did I say something wrong, etc. So if you're constantly monitoring yourself or monitoring what the other people is thinking, then it's very hard to feel relaxed or confident when you're dating. But we all know that confidence is everything. Confidence is magnetic, it's attractive. So then if you're anxiously attached, how do you go about dating with confidence? I'm going to share with you 10 tips today that I think you'll find helpful. So tip number 1 is don't chase. So this is hopefully intuitive, but if you try to chase somebody, if you email them constantly, try to call them constantly, you're always the one that's trying to initiate dates, then that energy would actually drive people away. Just ask yourself, if somebody were to do the same action towards you, wouldn't you also naturally want to take a step back? So in the field of energy, it really is, if you're chasing, then the other person would take the runner role. Versus if you're leaning back and allowing that space to exist, if it exists, and allowing the other person some space to approach you, then that actually also feels better for you, and it's also healthier for the relationship. Because you actually want people who are not serious about you, who are not that into you, who are not that invested, to naturally fade away versus you doing things to make it happen. Number 2 is don't accept breadcrumbs. I see a lot of people that would tell themselves, I'd rather be with somebody than to be alone. And that's absolutely the wrong mindset. We're always training people how to treat us. So if you're okay with only meeting once every month and only getting a call maybe once a week, then that's probably what you're going to get. So if you want more, you have to raise the bar and be willing to say next if this is not the right person. Number 3 is that you want to watch their actions. So this is very important. If you're only listening to words, then you're actually opening yourself to being manipulated by people that use words to manipulate. Because words are cheap, right? Anybody can say flowery, pretty words, tell you what you want to hear with no investment. Where the investment comes in is if he's actually putting in the effort, making the time, arranging for dates, etc., and helping you when you need help. That's when you know that the person is seriously committed. So always watch their action. The only time where there's an exception is if he or she tells you that they're not interested in a committed relationship, if they tell you that marriage is out of the question, they don't believe in it, if they tell you that they don't want to have kids, definitely take their words for it. Don't try to say, hey, I can change their mind later. You're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment and a lot of pain later if you choose to ignore their words, because they're telling you who they are and there's no right or wrong, right? This person may be the perfect person you believe, you love how they look, you like their resume, you like their personality, but they may not be in the right point in time when they want to give you that commitment that you're looking for. And if they're verbalizing it to you, then simplify your life, like take their word for it and don't make the mistake of trying to change them later. Number 4 is that don't use sex to manipulate people. So a lot of times the misconception is you can bring a person closer by having sex with them, or that if you refuse to have sex with them, they will go away. Well, the latter is true if they're not interested in having a committed relationship with you in the first place. So you actually want that, right? You don't want to have sex with them and they go away anyways, and then you feel really bad about it. So sex happens naturally if you feel a connection, if you feel validated, if you feel safe. But if you're trying to use sex in order to get these things, that's manipulation and it will always backfire on you. And it's not a confident way to be in a date, to show up. Is you don't want to use sex as a tool because it shows off as very needy as well. Number 5 is you want to ask the hard questions first. I think a lot of people when they date, if they really like a person, they're afraid to declare what they want out of a relationship. They're afraid that, hey, if I say I want to move towards a committed relationship or I want to have kids, that would scare the other person away. And it's true. Like if you're telling people what you want, the people that are unqualified or not interested in these goals, they will fall away. But that's actually a good thing. And in fact, you want to do that as early as possible so you save both of you time. Number 6 is that you want to invest to match. You don't want to over invest early on. I see a lot of people make this mistake, which is they look at the person's pictures and the profiles and the fact that they have a dog. They're like spinning all these stories already of the perfect life they could have. And so they're over investing very early on in a relationship, emotionally and maybe resource wise. And that's not wise. Because when you overinvest, then it becomes harder for you to pull away from the relationship if you later found out that he's actually not the right person for you. Number 7 is you want to be great at boundary setting. So boundary setting means you are declaring what is okay and what is not okay in terms of how to interact with you. So we're always teaching other people how to treat us. And if we're not good at holding boundaries, then we become a pushover or a people pleaser, and nobody respects a doormat. And if people don't respect the doormat, they're certainly not going to commit to a doormat. So you want to be really good at saying no so that your yeses mean something to people as well. And also when you say no, guess what? Abusive people are really not going to like to hear that no, and they're going to react poorly. So it's another way for you to see people's true colors. So definitely do not be afraid of setting boundaries. Number 8 is that you want to go into dating with a buyer's mindset. Too many people go in with the point of view that, hey, I'm here to sell myself, right? I need to impress the guy. I need to dress up so I look good so that the guy will want to see me again, or I need to say something witty to impress them. I need to propose cool date locations so they would have a great time. What if you were to flip that script and say, hey, I'm going to show up as my authentic self, and hopefully that person does as well. And I want to see if he says anything that I find interesting, or if he's going to take me to somewhere interesting that I would enjoy to date, right? So go with the buyer's mindset. You're not here to sell yourself. In fact, this world has a lot of people. So if this person doesn't pan out, there's always the next person, and you want to go through that process relatively quickly so that you're not wasting too much time on a person who is ultimately not the right fit. Number 9 is you want to work on self-soothing. This is very important if you're anxiously attached. People that are anxiously attached have a tendency of using the other person to help them soothe themselves. So if you're like calling him at work 10 times, trying to get a reaction, trying to get him to say something that will make you feel better, then you're using the other person to try to regulate your own emotions. But as an adult, we have a responsibility to actually work on balancing our own emotions. If you need to go take a walk, if you need to meditate or journal or speak to a friend, talk to a therapist, etc., you want to do that on your own without dragging your partner or your date into this. Because how we show up, it's really hard to hide who we are on the inside, especially since dating has a tendency of bringing out all the triggers, all the traumas, all the wounds that we haven't worked on yet. So that's why it's really hard to hide who you really are. You may read a book that, maybe the rules that says don't call this guy, if he asks you out to the date too late, say no, etc. These are all tactics. Is trying to help you pretend to be somebody who has high self-worth, but eventually the truth comes out, or you have to keep on acting for the rest of your life, and you'll feel like you're never loved for who you really are. So I don't think that is a recommended way to go. Instead, you want to work on your own self-confidence, heal any childhood wounds or attachment wounds that you have so that you naturally show up as a person who is confident, who has high self-worth, who has high standards, and that then is attractive automatically. You actually don't need these books to teach you tactics when it naturally emanates from you when you are a self-loving and confident person. Number 10, and the final point I'll leave with you, is that when you go into dating, you want to set realistic expectations. So a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm already in my 30s or late 30s. I need this to work. So this guy, he must work out. Well, that is not reasonable if you take a step back, because if you want somebody great, let's say you want somebody who's 1 in 1,000, then on average, you have to tell yourself that you're going to meet probably 500 frogs, right? Before you meet this person who's 1 in 1,000. So just be realistic about your expectation and go in with a light mindset. If you're going on a date, like try to enjoy it, right? You're trying to get to know a person, you're seeing if there is connection points, and then seeing if there is anything that will make you want to continue to see this person. But don't set the expectation that this must work or else. Like this is the only person, if he doesn't work, then there's nobody else, which is ultimately not true. But it adds a lot of pressure on yourself, on the date, on the relationship. That's absolutely not helpful and not necessary. So if you're going through dating and relationship and you're feeling really triggered, a lot of times it's helpful to talk to other people who are going through the same thing, or to have somebody who can ask for advice. So if this is you, then consider joining us inside Tribe. Inside Tribe, we have live discussions where you can ask your specific question and get answers that will specifically target what you need, the situation you're handling. Imagine how much easier your life would be if you're getting good advice. So you make the right decision and do the right thing the first time around versus trying to mop up mistakes later, right? So if you want to have that support, then join us inside Tribe. I think you'll learn a lot, and it's a monthly program, so you can join anytime and then stay as long as it works well for you. Until next time, have a wonderful week.